What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here. Hope you guys are having a good Easter Monday. And yeah, we're just back at it. So I packed a bowl. I packed an Easter bowl. So there's actually a little extra treat in there for me, some crystals. But no, I just thought we would chat today, catch up, hit me up with any of your questions. I see a few people threw questions in the comments already. If it looks like I'm not looking at you guys anymore, I'm just really excited because I got a whole new screen. So now I've got you guys way up there on the screen where it used to be on my laptop. So now I can read your comments without squinting because it's in 32 inches of readability. But a few things I did want to chat about today that I'm hoping we'll get time to is just definitely how just generally frustrated I am with the state of Canadian affairs. And I hope you guys are frustrated as well. And I don't know, there's a couple unpopular ideas or thoughts or words I've been thinking about stitching together. And I don't think I'm quite comfortable yet, but we'll maybe see if I get intoxicated later, if I warm up to the idea. But I'm definitely warmed up to the idea that if you promote COVID vaccine passports, that you're probably a bad person. And you're definitely my enemy, or at least the enemy of freedom. And me and freedom are like this. We're tight. So yeah, if you're anti-freedom, you're probably anti-Matt. Again, I think it's important people take a step back. Intentions is not enough. So just because you've got good intentions doesn't justify or rationalize away the consequences of those regulations or the results of your intentions. So I think it's really important people keep that in mind this time of day. And one other idea that I think at this point in time, it's not even really a secret here anymore on YouTube, but if you guys haven't been paying attention, I think now more than ever is the time to get into Bitcoin, guys. I'm not going to be pumping it hard. We'll probably do a spin-off YouTube channel in the near future where I'll go more into my politics and more into Bitcoin so that we don't risk this YouTube channel, because I'd hate to get this channel banned and then just have to either start all over or quit YouTube. Both of those things would be frustrating. I'm sure Peter, the producer, and his entire team wouldn't enjoy that either. So one other thing I do want to know, last week we had Peter on just kind of as a guest and hung out and chatted. So that was the first time I've had someone here on a Monday night. Let me know in the comments if you guys would like that as a reoccurring feature, whether it be Peter or different guests or a combo of the two, because I know for me, just like personally, it's definitely more enjoyable having someone else here rather than always talking to myself. And I think going forward on our live videos, weekdays as well, we might be playing around with some of the timings, putting them later at night, and hopefully bringing on some guests as well, because I don't know, I probably should be better at just talking alone by myself, but it eventually gets boring. I'm stuck with my thoughts pretty often, so sometimes fun to explore other people's thoughts too. Before I smoke, I'll try and answer everyone's real estate questions. Dave Cross asked, I have $500K cash. I want to lend out at a 10% interest rate. How do I find people that want to borrow? Also, what happens if they can't pay back my money and there are many lenders for one property? Well, Dave, one, if you don't want to lend on a property where there's many lenders, don't do it. Two, if you want to, this is not a direct solicitation, but if you want to chat further, send me a DM and we can chat on Instagram. So shoot me a IG and just remind me that we chatted here. iPhone 8, will reporting the tenant payment history affect their credit score? iPhone 8, no, unless you're on the Landlord Credit Bureau. So look up the LCB and you that'll be the only way that you can really ding them if you want to. Can the bank foreclose on you if your mortgage is underwater but still making payments? Black and Gold, no, like it definitely wouldn't be called a foreclosure. You know, there might be extreme circumstances. Again, depends upon whether you're at a refinance or not. But if you're just in the normal term of your mortgage, unless it's a unique mortgage, there's probably not a lot of things that you can drive in regards to, or that you'd have to be worried about being underwater. Now, when it comes time to refinance, you could find yourself in a difficult position where they may not want to refinance it. But just being underwater in and of itself shouldn't get your mortgage called unless it's a unique mortgage. Be first on the title for property. So Ian Jack, that was he was just referring for Dave Cross there. So Ian saying, Dave, if you want to be safe, get in first place on the mortgage or be the only one on title with a mortgage. If the loan's recourse on the property is in a corp, can the bank go after your personal assets? So like odds are you're going to have to personally guarantee it. So yeah, 99.9% of the time, if there's not enough assets to make the bank whole, they're probably just going to make you give up personal collateral, which in essence like defeats a lot of the credit proofing that people try and do when they set up their initial corp. Now, again, oftentimes once you get to 1 million, 2 million plus in net assets in the corp, then you may no longer need to keep personally qualifying or personally guaranteeing. But one of the struggles there is oftentimes as our net worth, as our resources grow, so do our ambitions. So we keep taking on bigger and bigger and more robust projects, which require more money. So oftentimes, even once you've built up that couple $1 million in net worth or in net assets in that corporation, you've often migrated on to bigger deals, which now, again, will still require personal guarantees or other cross-collateralization from other corporations or other sets of assets you got. Chocolate bar, I would talk to your accountant because one of the big questions they're going to have there is it capital gains, right? If you're regularly trading stock options, and there's probably a good argument if you're trading stock options that this wasn't an incidental capital gain. You probably entered into it with the purpose of trying to earn that profit. So I wouldn't be surprised if they might determine that that's an active income source. So capital gains may not be the right thing. And so it may be active income, but charged with a passive rate, which could actually be the worst of both worlds. So please go talk to a competent CPA and really make sure they understand your exact situation. Marco, no, there is no equivalent to the 1031 exchange in Canada. The closest thing we can do is a VTB, which will allow the seller to defer their capital gains over a 5-year time horizon. But again, taxman still going to get his cut. It's important that we all remember that the taxman is our silent partner. Hungarian saying, let's talk more about mushrooms. That can definitely come up on the new channel a lot more. And awesome. Glad to hear you guys enjoyed Peter and more gifts. Bring on the mushies. Is that in regard? Oh, okay, mushrooms, mushies. Gotcha. Oh, hey, am I back now? Let me know in the comment if you guys can see me. It seems like my internet's cutting in and out. All right, there we are. Sorry about that, guys. Can you deduct rental properties and depreciation of rental property from personal income, such as from a 9 to 5? I'd really encourage you to either sit down with your tax forms and fill it out, right? You're probably using online tax forms, fill it out, and you can play around with it a little bit. Now, if you're going to create a loss through depreciation, you're probably going to want to sit down with your accountant and talk that through. So again, I'm usually going to avoid very specific tax advice on these calls. So we only talk about generalities, but I'm definitely going to encourage you to sit down and talk to your accountant. What kind of due diligence would you do on a multifamily building? Mostly from the content of being legal. Seems like a truly legal multifamily is hard to come by. Yeah, and Ryan, even things like truly legal probably leave some room for interpretation, even though you probably think that it's being very specific. If we're talking about small multifamilies, I'm probably going to try and talk to the city. Obviously, your lawyer's going to do a title search. You're going to probably get some title insurance. You're almost guaranteed to get some title insurance, all that good stuff. So those are going to be some of the places I start off. If they've got rental licensing or anything like that, again, I might try and look for that towards some guidance. So what's your best advice for someone starting investing in real estate? I would encourage you to go get my Discover Your Why ebook, or that's how to, it's something like Build Your Real Estate Empire is maybe the title of the ebook, but essentially go check it out. We've done some live streams on it recently. There's a link in my Instagram bio. So I definitely encourage you to go do that. All right. I caught up on just about all the questions. It's time to smoke weed, and then we'll pick it up. All right. And did you guys watch my capital gains tax video earlier today? That video is doing really well. So if you guys haven't, if you could at some point go over, smash the like button and all that good stuff, it'd be much appreciated, because whenever the algorithm does us a favor, we always like to try and return it and set ourselves up for as much success as possible. I think I saw, we would have shot it earlier around 5 o'clock. I think I saw on one of my analysis pages it was up to 800 views, which is wonderful for us. I mean, it'd even be cooler if it was higher, but All right, let's smoke this. All right, I'm going to start it off with a topic I've been thinking a little bit about. I'm not going to come out with my hard stance, but I imagine anyone that can read will be able to read between the lines on this one. But did you guys watch the video that came out earlier this weekend during the Passover service of the pastor in Calgary, I believe, where essentially, I think it was about half a dozen policemen, and it looks like maybe a bylaw officer or someone came in, and they essentially were telling them to trying to shut down the whole thing. I'm just going to pull up my Twitter here and actually do a screen share. Ooh, that was a big draw too. That hit deep. But all right, get the screen share, get the sound going. All right. So also, if you guys aren't following me on Twitter, I would love the mercy follow because it'd be nice to be above 364. But let's go. There's a few videos actually I was hoping to play with you guys. Oh, I think though this is the thing. Actually, of all the things in the news right now that make me mad, this is probably one of the ones that really make me mad. And that's the MLB and all these other corporations postulating and being like, what a great corporate citizen we are because we're mad about Georgia wanting voter ID, which you can dissect that some other day. But they do business with China. They do business with China, and yet they're going to blame the state of Georgia, right? And it's just like, again, it's just so obvious which side of the debate a lot of these individuals are on. Oh, I'll probably get in trouble if I play the full YouTube thing. Oh, maybe that's the only. I thought I retweeted it a couple times, but this? Okay, yeah, I think I'll be allowed to do this.
Please get out. Get out of this property immediately. Get out. Get out of this property immediately. Out. I don't want to hear anything. Out of this property immediately. I don't want to hear a word.
This is just so gratifying too, guys. It actually does my soul good to just rewatch this.
Out of this property immediately until you come back with a warrant. Out of this property immediately. Out. Immediately go out and don't come back. I don't want to talk to you. Not a word. Out of this property immediately. Out.
It seems like the only thing bullies respect is another bully. And if you're not willing to stand your ground at this point in time, it seems like they're just happy to trample right over you. So I'll leave that for you guys to go deeper into and watch the full thing, but really encourage you to do it. I see Steven was asking, what are they supposed to do to China exactly? They have absolutely zero influence. Hey, China or Steven, they could literally do the exact same thing they did to Georgia, refuse to do business. Just be like, no, we won't sell the TV rights to Major League Baseball to your country until maybe deal with that whole Uyghur situation. Because if voter ID is such an evil thing that you'll refuse to do business in Georgia, it doesn't seem unreasonable to me to refuse to do business in China. Again, it's these companies that were actively deciding to punish Georgia, right? It's not that Georgia went after these companies. These companies decided to go after Georgia. It seems very reasonable to me for people to draw the equivalency of China. And also, if you guys aren't subscribed to Steven Crowder, you need to get on that. Actually, I don't know where my mug went, but I've got my Louder with Crowder mug somewhere nearby. But I think actually you need to join the Blaze. Go give him $60 American. That mug is strong. You'll literally be able to kill an intruder if someone breaks into your house with that mug. But it's worth it. Even if you never watch a show of his, I think he's going to do good things with that money. So, and then I wanted to show this other video. these businesses, yeah, I'd love to see more small businesses putting these signs up. Enough is enough. And like, again, Texas or Florida, guys. I feel like if we're going to go to the States, let's choose there. Because goddamn, you don't want to be in Quebec. But this video also did the heart well. So this is a restaurant, obviously. I think it was in Vancouver. Like, I think people are kind of fed up, and I can't really blame them. And it's a complicated situation. I've said from day one, I wouldn't want to be in a politician's shoes. That's probably why I've never gone into politics. But I think the thing that's most frustrating is how unmalleable it feels like the common narrative is from mainstream media and politicians at this stage, that it seems like they're unwilling to adjust course and that they want to just continue on the exact same narrative or use the exact same solution regardless of new data coming in. And I think it's that level of conviction and unwillingness to admit any misstep or any error. And then I think it's the backing up of like just big tech and mainstream media of essentially only presenting one side of that narrative as well. I think it's very frustrating for about 50% of the population. And even if you don't find yourself on that side of the population, I hope that you can at least like take a moment, take a beat, and understand the perspective from their position. COVID appears to be a relatively harmless virus, all things considered. This isn't the plague. We're not stacking bodies in the street. Over 99% survival rate. All things considered, appears to not be the end of the world. And yet, it seems like we're heading in a direction where it's very likely that you may need a passport to prove that you've been vaccinated in order to do day-to-day things. And essentially, I view that as them determining that humans are armed and dangerous until proven otherwise. As in, you are a threat to the public unless you can prove otherwise. So unless you are docile, unless you exactly do what they tell you to do, you are evil, that you essentially have malintentions, that you are harmful to the general public. And that's, again, I tweeted about it earlier today. It's not a slippery slope at that point. It's a sheer fucking cliff. Like, you're just straight into the abyss. And it's really unfortunate that people are completely unwilling to even have a discussion. And I don't understand why we can't just almost have the option. Hey, you know what? Weird times. We don't even know where the data's at. If you want to stay home and you don't want to go work, we'll serve you up. And you want to go to work, you want to do your thing, we'll promote that. Half the population decides to stay home, serve up. The other half goes out. And maybe half of the half that goes out still masks up. The other half doesn't, however that plays out. But you let people have that free choice. It seems like it may not play out much differently than how things are playing out now, but you would actually give back complete freedom to just about everyone. So again, I'm not even saying that people that want to stay home and be isolated, like it sounds like there's frontline workers right now that absolutely hate their life and live in a world of fear. Now, I think a lot of that fear is promoted and propagated by the mainstream media, like they're doing right now with this one teacher that died. One teacher has died this entire time period due to COVID. And now this is like this giant tragedy and a huge argument's being made that we need to go into even more severe lockdowns. People die in car accidents. We don't get rid of cars. It's a sad fact of life, but we will never be able to have life be 100% safe. And I don't know if we want it to be that way. If there was no consequences, I mean, some of us are pretty crazy with a world of consequences. I'm not sure you want to see how batshit we go when there's zero consequences. So again, you can't nerf the entire world. And these helicopter parents that are becoming politicians are really concerning, because the same sort of helicopter parenting that I found just abhorrent at my student rentals were like, there was a mom that just lost her shit on us because there was a dead fly in a windowsill on move-in day. A dead fly. I mean, I don't know how you guys got your student rental when you moved in. We cleaned up our property when we moved in because we wanted to look nicer than like on move-in day when we got. Again, our landlord should have been better, but it doesn't really matter. There's no sense of responsibility, no sense of agency. Everyone has immediate race to victimhood because unless you're a victim, again, they essentially see you as a criminal. So you're either a victim or a criminal. So those of us that don't want to identify as victims inherently find ourselves as perpetrators. And it doesn't matter what crime you perpetrate, they will find a crime. And if you don't have, if it's not a outright crime, it'll just become this new second layer crime. And so like the way we've got like different layers of money, or the way we've got different layers of everything's kind of in layers. When we start breaking things down, there's always a way to parse it down smaller. But essentially, when you start thinking about it, we've got like the law. And so the law is like the government, we all agreed into it. And then we've got this new layer of rules that aren't necessarily laws. And sometimes are enforced by government, sometimes are enforced by media, sometimes enforced by private companies, sometimes enforced by big tech. But like, again, some of them are unspoken, some of them are fuzzy. And it's just like a weird time to find yourself trying to navigate this space. And it's very frustrating. And again, I can certainly sympathize with those that are frustrated by the circumstances we find ourselves in. Because it just feels like this is the future. This is not the future we were promised. This is not the future we deserve. I think we're capable of more and we're capable of better. And I also don't want to paint with such a broad brush where I'm saying that everyone that disagrees with me is a fascist or a tyrant or evil, because that's not the case. It simply isn't. Some people live in an echo chamber where I honestly don't think they know any better. All they've done is listen to the mainstream media and live in fear and panic and all that. Maybe some people have lived a life of unfortunate, mathematical odds, and you actually have lost a lot of people in your life because of COVID. Because to the best of my knowledge, that's not the average person. The average person hasn't lost a lot of people in their life because of COVID. And certainly not a lot of people under the age of 60 because of COVID. And all these variants and strains, if like we're kind of like smoothing this curve thing, the longer we stretch this shit out, like you add time to this formula, it doesn't necessarily reduce the chance for these variants or strains. And I've heard some compelling arguments for how it maybe even creates a greater opportunity for those. And again, that's not to imply that people are like, that's why they're doing it and they want to lock us down. No. Again, I think that there's just a lot of individuals that have weird incentives before them right now. If you're hired as the health czar or as a science table member or someone that's essentially hired to protect us from COVID, you have to have a bias towards safety in that position. But there's no counterbalance or check when you've got politicians like Doug Ford saying, well, I can't go against what the science says. And then you've got the people that do the science reading, like when they're off air, like, I don't even know what I read. I just read whatever they put in front of me. Like, these are concerning statements. And again, some are, I'm sure, taken in isolation, out of context and things of that nature. But I think it shows a general lack of willingness to have a two-sided debate. Someone earlier was talking about a 10th man on one of the YouTube channels or podcasts I listen to, and like the importance of having someone that's willing to challenge the consensus and challenge the normal. I think right now everyone's too scared to have those conversations because immediately you get labeled as some sort of extremist, some sort of anti-vaxxer, some sort of this, that, or the other. And like, one, I find it frustrating that y'all are making me make common cause with a lot of crazy people that I otherwise wouldn't make common cause with, but I find myself on a weird side of a divide. And circumstances can make for weird bedfellows and moments. And I feel like we're in one of those times right now where I'm like, man, like they're talking more sense of like, let's at least like pump the brakes on people that are under the age of 60. Because again, they're not stacking us in the street. We're not dying. And while, again, I understand it could max out capacity and stuff, we were always at like max capacity in these hospitals for an extended period of time. This isn't a whole new occurrence. And like, even the way sometimes the status getting presented is strange, where they start like changing the way it's presented to us in order to clearly like push one narrative. And again, it's not to say like there's a greater they, as in like there's one person pulling puppet strings. I don't hate Bill Gates the way it seems like some people absolutely hate him. But I think there are weird, perverse incentive models, and there's a lot of people seeing an opportunity to push their narrative. So like, this is like, I imagine this is what it was like back in ancient times when all of a sudden just an eclipse happened out of the blue. And just literally everyone started using it as their moment on their soapbox. And they're like, see, I told you we need to kill this group. I told you we need to lock these people up. I told you we need this rule because look at what's happening. And I'm sure other people are like, I told you that you're all evil and sinners because look at this thing. And like, just everyone starts going batshit. And that's essentially what, like, somehow like germs are the 21st century of that sort of like mental viral infectant, right? Where it's just like, it just brought out the crazy in a lot of individuals. And I think the only way this gets better is with less control. The only way this gets better is with more freedom. And so, again, for another lockdown to occur, like, the weird thing is, because it happened once, they almost take it for granted it should happen again. It should almost be the exact opposite. If it happened once, you should have to fight even more so to justify why it needs to happen a second time. And so, like, this weird thing now where it's just like, dude, like, it's a switch. I flip it. We lock down. I unflip it. We're not locked down. Don't even worry about it. Don't sweat it, bro. Just try and keep up with the colors and the codes and the areas and the zones and things. It's like, no, this shit should become more difficult with time. This should become a greater challenge for the government to be able to do these things. And it's unfortunate that we just, we boil 1 degree at a time, that we're just that frog sitting in the pot. And because it's such a slow, nefarious just infection, that we don't react. We don't react, let alone react fast. Hey, Eric, you know what? If you're not feeling it, that's cool, man. But the weirdest thing in life is I've never once gone out just to like shit on people, like I just never decide to go out and try and make their life worse. And I can't help but feel like that's what you're trying to do here, bro. And again, it feels like you're actually one of those bad people. They're just trying to make things worse. So I feel like my weed's probably helping me here. But you do you, bro. All right. What else is going on here in the comments? Appreciate you sharing your perspective, Ian. I've stayed in cockroach-infested house for months, laughed my ass off. I know, like, some of us are willing to like sacrifice and work hard and like actually have to go through shit. We're like, again, like this nerfed world, this completely sanitized version of reality is just interesting. But yeah, I guess the one thing that let me figure out how to turn this off. The one thing that I don't know if we're here yet, and I know that this will even be a more extreme, unpopular opinion, but like, I hope we start to see some dissent from individuals that are expected to enforce the rules. So I would really love to see some disobedience from people that are expected to enforce the current rules. I would love to see some bravery there, or even just some unpopular opinions. And, there's a lot of people that essentially sacrificed their jobs, their businesses, their livelihoods for what they hoped were going to be the greater good, and now find themselves essentially just told they need to keep towing the line for an indefinite period of time. And the individuals that are supposed to protect our freedoms seem to really be doing the opposite in the moment when it's most important, I feel like. So I really do think it is a strange time in history. I hope we look back on this as like, man, we went close to the edge, but boy, did we pull it back. Boy, did it all turn out well. And I'm glad we all learned that hard-earned lesson. Oh, Bitcoin. Yeah, glad you brought me back on track here, Daniel. So let's chat about that. I legit, who was it that came out? There was a headline that came out. Was it, I forget. Anyways, they said 1% Bitcoin. Yeah, go do that. I'm 100% in on that. Totally biased, but and you should totally not take this as serious financial advice because I'm high on the live stream. But I think you should seriously start looking into Bitcoin. I think that this is the time to become well informed. I'm starting to feel like it's one of the few ways I can vote with my dollars realistically and not become evil. Let that sink in. I literally see Bitcoin as one of the few ways I can vote with my dollars and not be evil. The only other way is through lobbyists and trying to buy politicians and trying to, like, you know, buy favor with them. I see Bitcoin as the opportunity to try and do the opposite, to be like, no, I'm voting outside of your system. I'm voting to try and take my wealth outside of your system. And not in like I'm trying to not pay taxes and bullshit like that. No, not that whatsoever. But in like, this is a vote that like, hey, this decentralized asset, I value more than all your fucking centralized assets together. That's the powerful vote of dissonance that I see as Bitcoin. And so I think it could be a powerful way for those of you that maybe feel frustrated by big government to vote with your dollars in a meaningful manner. And I think it's worthwhile researching. And again, you need to be very careful. I'm using the word Bitcoin here. I'm not using any other cryptocurrency term. So like Bitcoin. Again, do I think NFTs and other cryptocurrencies could be fun to dabble and speculate in? Absolutely. But don't get me wrong here. I'm very specific with my words when I say Bitcoin. And I think that's what you should be looking into. But again, I think if you're a true libertarian, if you're a true old school liberal, if you're a financial conservative, there's a compelling argument to wanting to become drawn into Bitcoin. And just worries about staring at monitor like meet Kevin all day. Not sure I get the context there, Ian. But yeah, so I think that there's so much potential in these decentralized systems. And I think Bitcoin's the only one that seems to be truly decentralized, and two of his are in critical mass. And once you've got votes of confidence like Tesla, that's powerful. That's extremely powerful, what Elon Musk did. And I think that that's a historic moment that a lot of people are going to look back on. And Michael Saylor as well. He's absolutely like, changed, mixing things up. Was it, he just dropped, or he just bought another 253 coins for like 115 million. And I was looking at some guys that were looking at technical analysis, and it seemed like someone was really trying to push through. And it looks like he was just buying everything in sight, or that was one of the points of speculation, at least this person made, which was interesting. But yeah, I think that Bitcoin could be an interesting way to invest with your dollar or vote with your dollars and not become the scum of the earth. Because like everyone else that votes with their dollars and buys politicians and, tries to buy that favor, tries to really influence them. Like, even if you've got the best of intentions, at some point in time, it seems like that there's toxicity to that, and you can't help but become infected by the sole act of it. So it just seems like so rare that people are able to walk that line and still be a good person and essentially buy politicians. So I kind of see Bitcoin as the only opportunity to do that. But yeah, crazy times. So anyways, I definitely think there's a strong argument for researching Bitcoin. And if you guys want to learn more, obviously reading the white paper is great. There's a book. bullish case for Bitcoin. I think that may not be the exact phrasing, but something like that. The Clubhouse chat rooms are actually amazing, like Cafe Bitcoin, and I forget a few of the others, but if you join Cafe Bitcoin and start following the other speakers, I think that you'll find lots of great, interesting discussions. And obviously, there's a very robust community on Twitter that's worth following. I'd start with like Brad Mills and American Hodl and a few of those others. Is it NVK and what's the one that's like there's a really good account that's documenting like Bitcoin or something like that. And just always sharing fascinating stats. And then there's Russell, goes by Russ, who's also good. Of course, I can't find it now, but anyways, lots of great people on there. And I don't know what's going on. Like these libertarian parties are not being very libertarian right now, at least from what I'm seeing. And it's concerning how like words like liberal or libertarian used to mean one very clear ideal, in my opinion, and have evolved to mean something so much different. But I guess that's just the nature of language. Yeah, love a couple more likes if there's only 4 of those. But yeah, that's probably why we need to eventually just start a new channel. I can just ramble on about things that matter. All right, cool, guys. Well, I'm kind of feeling burnt out, but that was some real talk about Bitcoin. So I think you guys should seriously consider it. Though, obviously, I lost all mine in a boating accident, and I would encourage you to do the same. But definitely get in some of those Clubhouse chats, join Twitter. And I'm sure there's all kinds of amazing communities that I know nothing about. But those are some good starting points. All right, how do...